Do we have a motion to convene to open session?
So moved.
Second? Second. Roll call.
Trustee Aguilar?
Yes.
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Toomey?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Stutz?
Yes.
Trustee Radosh?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Dolschlager?
Yes.
Okay, the first item on the agenda is review and approval of the October 3rd, 4th, 2019 open and closed session minute meetings. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Vote?
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Toomey?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Stutz?
Yes.
Trustee Radosh?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Dolschlager?
Yes.
Trustee Aguilar?
Yes.
Minutes approved. Move now to public comments.
First public comment we have is Andrea Henderson, and second will be Bill Thompson.
Good morning. It's okay to go. My name is Andrea Henderson, and I served as the Director of the Office of Equal Opportunity and Access from July 2009 through May 1st, 2018, when I retired with over 31 years of service. 1 year later, on May 1st, 2019, I returned to that office to assist part-time on a temporary basis while the university continued its search to replace the former director. I tell you that so that you know that I have history with this institution and I care enough to come back and to assist where I can. I know that you all have some very important work before you, one of those being hiring an individual to lead this institution. And this is the reason that I stand before you. Please know that my comments have nothing to do with Dr. Abraham. I find it quite ironic, if not poetic, that the same individuals who question Dr. Thompson's judgment and leadership can fully support the last major administrative action. My concerns about equal opportunity, process, and practices of privilege. I know from my years of employment here at the university that the work of the Office of Equal Opportunity and Access and the success of the institution's diversity and inclusion efforts are significantly impacted by what is communicated and being done at the top. The leader, or leaders in this case, set the tone. As I told Chair Radosh when she asked about filling the president's position while I was employed this summer, the right thing to do is to conduct a national search. After all, the previous president and interim provost, a person of color and a woman, both with significant institutional experience, had to go through a national search. Given that history, this does not look good. If the highest position in the university can be filled without a search, a process which allows for equal opportunity, the only way this institution can truly achieve diversity and inclusion, then any and all positions are on the table, and the message that you send is that this is an accepted process to fill positions. I've heard and I've read some great comments about the value this institution places on diversity and inclusion, but comments do not create a culture of diversity and inclusion. Actions do, and I'm concerned by what is happening. When I returned to assist in the Office of Equal Opportunity and Access this past May, I attended the President's leadership meeting. I literally left that meeting feeling sick to my stomach as it felt like I had gone back 30 years. And I shared this with Dr. Abraham. I went from never being the only person of color in the room, and sometimes being one of up to 6 people of color in the room, to again being the only person of color in the room. If WIU is going to stabilize and grow enrollment in 2020 and beyond, it has to attract and retain students of color. Students of color will come where they think they are welcomed and will stay where they feel supported and included. You create a welcoming and supportive environment by following processes that allow for equal opportunity, being intentional in your outreach, and having an inclusive administration, faculty, staff, and student body that is reflective of our diverse society. People will listen and read what you say and write. However, people are actually waiting and watching for what you do, and what you do will matter. I encourage you to do the right thing.
Next, we have Bill Thompson, and after Bill will be Tara North.
Good morning. Bill Thompson, Chapter President of the University Professionals of Illinois. I've sent y'all an email, and so I'm going to keep my remarks pretty brief. Keep Martin as our president. He did go through a search. It was a national search. It was the largest search committee ever that vetted him. He has my confidence, and I believe he has the confidence, as your own surveys have told you, of the faculty and the staff and of the community that have attended your surveys. We need to move forward. If we don't have a president that is the president, then the bureaucracy that runs this place day to day, they're not going to invest, because everyone's going to be sitting there thinking, why should I invest in whatever it is I'm doing when the next person that's coming down the road could undo everything? That's kind of where we were earlier this fall, and in the summer, everybody was just at stop. And I was literally at meetings where people would say, well, we can't make a decision because we don't know who the president's going to be. So this place right now needs a lot of decisions that need to get made so that we can move forward, so that we are still here and thriving in 2025 when the demographic cliff approaches and we go over it. And hopefully we survive it. That said, I'd like to thank the administration for working so closely with the union on our recent night of 100 free pizzas. Interim President Abraham was there, and he was handing out the slices, and I think he estimated 2 slices per second. Per minute. No, it was, I did the, yeah, 2 slices per second, and I did the math, and it was 1.74. So you were close. That was good. That was good. We gave out 100 free pizzas in less than about 58 minutes. It was a great event, and Provost Clow helped out by promoting it. Darcy Schinberger promoted it. The Dean, Gene Stearman, helped us by letting us have the library atrium. It was a great event. It was a good thing for the union and the administration to be working together like that, and I was happy to do it. A couple of final things. I'm disappointed that so many of the closed session minutes are going to remain secret. I don't understand why that is. That doesn't look good, because it just raises that question of what's so scary now? 2-3 years later, what is so frightening that we can't all hear it? And I'm also disappointed that you're going to destroy the recordings rather than the closed session recordings rather than archive them. You could archive them in the library under an embargo. That would be effectively that. And it would make people feel more secure. Oh, okay. I just want to say the federal government is going to 12 weeks for parental leave. Let's do that.
Next, we have Tara North, and after Tara will be Julie Murphy.
Hi, my name is Terry North. I retired from Western in 2012. I came in 1984 to teach in agriculture. I'd like to thank Dr. Radish for truly embracing the role of being a board chair and extending the invitation to so many groups to participate in conversations about Western's 12th president. It's the first ever outreach I've seen like that from the board since I came in 1984, and it's one that was very much appreciated. However, while Dr. Radish has been bringing the community and campus together, another board member has sought to attack Dr. Abraham, expressing anger in what was an excellent editorial about bringing a welcoming diversity message to all. Yes, Macomb had a lot of racial angst this past year, but to believe that does not happen in the Quad Cities is purely foolish. Dr. Abraham has provided a much needed U-turn from the divisiveness, animosity, and turmoil that was present prior to his arrival. In seeking our 12th president, there are some who want to wait a 12 to 18-month national search, simply because it's the way we've always done it. Look how well doing what we've always done worked for Western over the last 10 years. We can't afford to wait, hesitating to make moves, stagnating for the sake of transition, rather than maintaining the positive progress we've already begun. Further, Dr. Abraham's already advanced through a national search. He was hired as the provost. That is the senior person to the president, would take over if the president were not able. Clearly, he is qualified. Others claim Dr. Abraham, the success he's had is only because it's the honeymoon period. I came here with Dr. Malpass. I went through 4 presidential inaugurations. I have yet to see anything like this honeymoon, and I would like to continue it. I recognize that there are 2 campuses to this institution, but what happens in Macomb drives the university. We have 85% of the students. We greatly impact the community. We are 1/20th the size of the Quad Cities area. Statistically, that means what happens here has more impact. Thank you.
Next, we have Julie Murphy. After Julie, we have Bill Polly.
Good morning. I'm Julie Murphy, Acting Director for Tri-States Public Radio. As you well know, the previous administration and Board of Trustees rescinded all of TSPR's appropriated funding on March 1st of this year. To this date, no explanation of how that decision was reached has been provided. To our knowledge, no analysis of the impact of this decision on our campus and community was completed. I trust you all are aware of the outcry here in Macomb and the entire listening region that ensued. Prior to March 1st, TSPR had been a part of and supported by Western since 1956. Today, TSPR's listening region consists of all or part of 20 counties in Western Illinois, Southeast Iowa, and Northeast Missouri. TSPR can be heard 24/7 by over 300,000 people. TSPR carries national public radio and locally produced news and programming. All of TSPR's required station IDs, 1 per hour, announce that we are an outreach service of the College of Fine Arts and Communication. The station reports the news of Western, features commentary from faculty and staff, broadcasts School of Music performances, and provides paid professional experiences to a dozen students each semester. These students have won state and national broadcasting awards for their reporting and have gone on to careers with nationally recognized organizations. We also employ student music librarians, administrative assistants, and managers for our subcarrier Audio Information Services, which provides 24/7 reading services to the print handicapped. At the time of the funding cut, it was implied that TSPR was not part of the nucleus of education. I strongly disagree. TSPR not only provides a window to the larger world, it informs listeners of what can and does happen on our campus. People know the university through this station. I would argue that TSPR is exactly what is outlined in our core value of social responsibility for what it provides to the region. TSPR has remained on the air through our own fundraising efforts. In FY19, listeners responded to the funding cut by contributing an unprecedented $528,000. The 2 previous years brought in around $280,000 each. While impressive, it is not realistic to think we can sustain last year's private support on an annual basis. We are operating with half the staff of a year ago and continue to lose talent due to the lack of stability. The loss of Western's appropriated support will also reduce the amount of funding we are able to obtain from CPB in the future. TSPR is a valued and valuable element of our university. As you look at the budget for the coming year and into the future, as you strive to increase enrollment and repair damaged community relations, I beseech you to restore funding to Tri-States Public Radio. Thank you.
Next, we have Bill Polly. After Bill Polly, we have Christopher Pines.
Bill Polly, Associate Professor of Economics and former Vice President for Administrative Services. The experiences of the last 18 months in that office have given me a profound sense of respect for the staff of this great institution. I would like to thank the board for the opportunity to serve in this capacity. From day one in that office last summer, we were faced with the Herculean task of reducing the budget and reining in spending. The message was clear. If we did not reduce spending, we would run out of money this fall. In our division, we cut to a point at which we knew would be painful but survivable until matters improve. Painful because this division has sacrificed so many times before. It broke my heart to ask them to sacrifice more, but there was no other option. And while we knew some further attrition was necessary, we hoped that essential positions could be preserved. As the layoffs receded into memory, my people, my newfound colleagues of this division, began calling out to me desperate for help to ensure that we could continue to provide the services to which this university has become accustomed and which this university deserves. Unfortunately, with all open positions subject to presidential review, I could not protect the division from personnel losses to attrition. Even when an area was down to a single person, my requests were denied. Even when replacing a retirement or resignation would save on overtime, denied. Temporary extra help to get through a busy time, denied. I advocated for my people to no avail. And yet, through it all, the people of this division continue to serve admirably, giving the very best of themselves to see this university succeed. I have never been more proud of a group of people in my professional life. I'm a better person for having served with you. Faculty are important. Without them, there is no university. But what do you do when the snow doesn't get plowed? What do you do when the heat goes out? Reductions in the business office increase the risk of audit findings. We all rely on our civil service employees to support us in our mission. Unfortunately, our civil service employees do not always get the respect they deserve from other classes of employees. Comments on social media, rumors about additional cuts, bullying staff into cutting corners. I am distressed by some of the things that I've seen. There are not 2 or 3 or 4 tiers of employees at WIU. We are all leathernecks. To all of the civil service staff of the university and to the directors and administrative services, it has been my honor to serve you and to serve alongside you. Thank you for all you do. You don't hear it enough. I ask that you, the board, direct the president to ensure that essential positions are protected and that succession plans are in place in critical areas. Show appreciation to your civil service employees. If you do that, then 18 months of sleepless nights will have been worth it. Thank you.
Next, we have Christopher Pines. After Christopher, we have Duke Orsler.
Good morning, trustees. This is a nice, intimate little setting. My name is Christopher Pines. I'm a professor of philosophy in the Department of Mathematics and Philosophy. Today, I am here representing the faculty as the Faculty Senate Chair. I want to thank all of you for all the work you've done the last 6 months. It's a very difficult job. You have to make difficult decisions and where you're not going to make everybody happy. And it's easy for people to tell you what to do, but it's very difficult for you to sit there and make those decisions. I'm here to make a couple of comments about the board agenda because the comment sections in our consent comes after some of these votes. One is that the Faculty Senate had a special meeting to discuss your agenda. The first thing I wanted to point out is a resolution 19-12/8, where you decide that you're going to delete some of the closed session recordings. We've asked that you not do that. The Senate continues to ask the board not to destroy historical artifacts unnecessarily. You don't have to destroy these. You weren't on any of these recordings, and there's still contested issues about that period of time in Western's history, so we would appreciate if you didn't do that. We also had a lot of discussion about your first 2 items, 19.12/1 and 19.12/2. The Faculty Senate decided to consent to the first item, 19.12/1, to make Martin Abraham the 12th president of Western Illinois University. A lot of discussion about this went on. After that, we had a long discussion about whether or not we should consent to 19.12/2. This is where you would convene a search if you do not approve 19.12/1. The Senate had a clear preference for the first one, but we also realized that it is your decision and that we should consent to a search if you decide to have a search. So we have consented to both of these items, but we do, as a faculty, prefer the first one. And one of the reasons, on a personal note, in July, most of your first meeting, I stood up and said that we should have a national search and it should begin immediately. National searches are the gold standard. It's what we should be doing. The problem is that those are in ideal times. Right now, we have instability at every level of the institution. 3 of the 4 vice presidents are interim. 4 of the 6 deans are interim. You do national searches when you have a stable situation where the rest of the institution can be fully bought in, where people can pay attention and work toward a successful search. I'm concerned that because many of you haven't been here experiencing the turmoil of the last 5 years since December 2015, I think you might not appreciate where people are. It's not the gold standard, but it is clearly not out of the norm for somebody to be appointed the president in a situation like this. I hope Dr. Martin Abraham continues to serve, even if you decide to go with a national search, but I hope that you make him the 12th president of Western Illinois University so that the faculty and the students can move forward. Thank you.
Next, we have Duke Orsler. After Duke, we have Roger Ward.
I want to make sure the mics are nice and hot. You can hear me back there. I'm here. I went to a meeting the other day that was held by Chairperson Radosh and Mr. Toomey had with the city of Macomb. Local businessmen and women came to speak about the issue of the presidency and who should be president and how they feel this board should move forward. Overwhelmingly, the community is in favor of having Martin become the 12th president of the community. One of the comments was, in the last, by our coroner, the county coroner, that he goes to a Macomb High School football game, and the president of the Western Illinois University is wearing orange and black, Macomb colors, and is there with the community and engaging. He has gone through a process of vetting by this community already. He's been here 6 months. He's been here virtually. There's nobody that you're going to bring in any search that's going to have gone through that and has had the acceptance from them. Additionally, put my note up here. The national search for this provost had, I believe, 26 people on the committee. The proposed one, I believe, in the board of trustees only has 23 people. The search was larger. So we don't have time. It is an eternity. 8 months, 5 months for these local businesses and people here is an eternity. We're talking about 3 years possibly of no leadership at the university at the highest level. We have one non-interim vice president administrator. We are missing deans. We need leadership. We have leadership that we have gone through and vetted, and it is time to move forward with this. I thank you for your time. I know you have hard decisions. One thing I would say too on this, the previous board that was here through the very hard times, they have to own a lot of those times. You all will have to own a lot of these times. What happens from here forward is going to be on you all. So we saw what happened last time when things when there wasn't leadership that could bring people together. We've had leadership now that's bringing people together. Let's continue to heal, continue to work together. Thank you.
Next, we have Roger Ward, and finally it'll be Tom Carper.
Good morning. My name is Roger Ward. I'm a local businessman and a local resident of Macomb. Recently, I attended the same meeting that Duke and several of you were at City Hall, gathering information from the local community as to how they'd like to see how we move forward with hiring a new president or offering a new president. I have to agree with the last two speakers. Everything's been said. I've heard the term the demographic cliff brought up several times about in 2025. we already at a cliff for the town of Macomb. The town of Macomb has an economic cliff right now, which many of us are falling off of. The town is in crisis from a business point of view. I'm fairly well versed and have communicated with a lot of the local business owners who are really struggling right now. We do not have another 18 months waiting for another president and then another 18 months waiting for another provost, waiting for department heads to be filled in a permanent position. What we have seen as far as the shrinking of the divide of the town and gown in the last 6 months, in my eyes, has been astounding. I've been a lifelong resident of Macomb. I was born and raised here. My father retired from the university. My mother worked at the university. My brother and sister and I all went to the university. We're invested in purple and gold, but we're also invested our livelihoods in this town. Something you need to consider, that recruiting and getting new students to come to Macomb is not just based upon what your school has to offer. If there's no town around your school, that's not going to help you in recruiting prospective students. If you can just bear in mind, reiterating what previous speakers said, this is a time of crisis. This isn't a time of normal operating procedure. I wish we had the time for a national search. I've met our current interim president several times socially in Macomb and at different events. I cannot speak to his credentials other than I see the healing in Macomb right now between town and gown. I've been very impressed so far with he and his wife, what they've accomplished in just a short time. So thank you for your time.
What's the name of your business?
The Forum.
The Forum?
Yep.
Thanks.
Yep.
Next, we have Tom Carper.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Tom Carper, citizen of Macomb for over 50 years, former mayor of Macomb, business person of Macomb, presently serve on the Amtrak Board of Directors. My board experience tells me that a board of directors has basically two responsibilities. You hire a president, you hire a CEO, and you fire a president, you fire a CEO if they're not doing a good job. So if I were sitting in your shoes, what I would do is I would make the hire, but I would make sure that the president, as you always should, regardless of the situation, is doing a good job for the community, for the university, and for the region. And I'd also like to make a very quick pitch for my support for public radio, a longtime supporter, and I think it does add great value to the university. Thank you.
That's the end. Okay, that concludes the public comment section. We'll move now to chairpersons' remarks, and following that, president's remarks. The next item on the agenda after president's remarks is the first resolution. And as I'm going to explain in a minute, we need more time, so we are going to convene to closed session as soon as we finish these two sets of remarks. First of all, I would like to thank all of you for engaging with the board as we've tried to gauge the best path forward for WIU in the appointment of the next president. We've had some very rich discussions and have had hard dialogue in our focus groups. One of the most consistent themes running through all of our meetings is how much people have wrestled with the hard questions of what to do next. With only a couple of exceptions, the tone of the sessions was civil, respectful of differing opinions, and as people spoke, it was clear that each participant had been torn by what should be done under normal circumstances and what should be done under our particular critical circumstances. It was heartwarming to see so many people who were able to shelve their own opinions in order to assess what is best for WIU. Wrestling with the question of what should be done under normal circumstances, juxtaposed against the issues and problems we face here and now, is at the heart of the decision on what to do next. Under normal circumstances, if we have a strong internal candidate, or in this case, an external hire who, because of circumstances beyond his own control, has suddenly become the external internal candidate, it is usually the case that we would conduct a search to verify his fit for the job. The obvious reasoning is that if the candidate rises to appointment when vetted against national peers, we know, and he or she knows, that their appointment is a solid choice. No second guessing on qualifications. Almost all of us started this process with that opinion intact. And as Andrea Henderson pointed out, that was where I started this process, with that opinion intact. You may recall that the Faculty Senate Chair, as Christopher Pines mentioned, called for a national search in the June meeting right after President Thomas's resignation. He was open and direct in requesting that the board begin organizing a national search. I met with UPI President Bill Thompson in July, and he was also adamant that we should begin a national search as soon as possible. Both of these campus leaders, on behalf of their constituent groups, now advocate hiring Martin for a 3-year term without a search. These leaders represent the interests of the faculty, the curriculum, and the principles of shared governance with overlapping but distinct responsibilities. Among their most important roles is to see that the faculty and curricular interests are always protected. They never, and let me repeat that, they never abdicate their role in shaping, protecting, and sheltering the interests of faculty. And one of the most important components of this is to take a leading role in the appointment of the president. Usually this opportunity comes up only once in a decade. For them to come out in support of hiring Martin without a search is nothing short of a revolutionary action by campus leaders. They are not alone. Numerous administrators, including the Council on Administrative Personnel, or COAP, the majority of faculty, academic support professionals, and civil service employees, have gone through the same transformation. So why? Why have they changed their minds and now advocate without hiring a search? I think the answer as to why so many people, 67.5% of respondents in our survey, to be exact, have come to this conclusion is at the heart of what we do as a university. We have examined the hard facts and developed a new paradigm for action. As you know, the facts are most of our administrators are interim. If we hire Martin, we can fix this problem probably within a year, and we may be able to build lost diversity through these hires. We have been 5 years without a permanent provost, and if we wait through the search to hire one, it will be 7 years without a permanent provost. We are moving forward, and if we engage in a search for the next 18 months, we may lose our momentum. He would be two years into a 3-year contract by the time the search is finished. You know these arguments because you wrote them. In fact, you submitted 95 pages of comments about this process. I don't need to explain it to you. I would be willing to bet that almost all of you started with the thinking that a national search is the best way to go. That is exactly where I started. But you have changed your opinions based on a pragmatic assessment of what is best for the university. Okay, so the campus likes the direction we are headed. The board gets that. But it is the responsibility of the board to oversee the university by examining the broader picture. Could we get a better candidate? And is the risk of stalling the appointment of all those interims, and most especially the provost, worth the wait? We must be realistic about this. What is the likelihood of attracting a highly qualified, diverse candidate to WIU after we have been nationally vilified as racist? We have an unstable upper administration, with 8 of top 10 administrators occupying interim appointments, with the lowest presidential salary in the state, coupled with the facts that when the university had stable enrollment, stable administration, and financial reserves, we still had problems attracting candidates. It's not our job to hope that the ideal leader who doesn't care about the salary, financial instability, the accusations of racism, or the instability of our administration is suddenly going to appear in our search. We have to be pragmatic and realistic. And finally, there is a third issue to be considered in the last of our focus groups, as was alluded to. Roger Ward very directly stated that Macomb does not have 18 months for us to decide what direction we will take. Businesses in Macomb are hanging by a thread, and we cannot endure more closed and bankrupt businesses. There are 3 major employers in McDonough County. For those of you from large urban areas, I did not say 30, I said 3. The Quad Cities has 31 employers who hire more than 400 people. We have 3. They are the university with 1,400 employees, which is actually down from 1,800 after the layoffs and firings. NTN Bauer with 750 employees, McDonough District Hospital with 550 employees. All of the other small businesses, the school district, even the 4th largest employer, Walmart, with its 350 employees, is dependent on the stability of the 3 largest employers, of which the university is 2 times larger than one and nearly 3 times larger than the other. Put another way, we fired or laid off more people in the last few years than are even employed by the 4th larger employer in the region. I didn't say Macomb, I said the region. If we don't get it together and move forward quickly, the economic stability of the region is threatened. While our focus is almost always on the academic mission of the university, the board must oversee the university as an employer. And as such, we cannot ignore our regional stature as the largest employer in the county. So with the complexity of all these issues in mind, the question before the board is what to do next. I'm going to tell you honestly, we are not in agreement. Last evening, we spent 5 hours wrestling with the issues, and we did not leave the room in agreement. We're going to break for another closed session before we consider the resolutions before us. And whatever the outcome, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your engagement in this process. If we've done nothing more in the last few weeks, we've opened a dialogue, and that is very healthy for a university. Thank you. President's remarks.
All right. I want to make a number of comments. I want to start off by recognizing that we are, first and foremost, a university. And first and foremost, that means we have students, and that means we have graduates. And I want to recognize and start off by recognizing our graduates. 815 total students eligible to graduate this semester. 537 of them undergraduates, 184 masters, and 6 doctoral students earning their EDD. A couple of nights ago, I was up in the Quad Cities. We had a wonderful celebration recognizing our graduating students up there. Thank you, Joe, for putting all that together. It was an excellent event. I really enjoyed my opportunity to go up and recognize our students. And of course, tonight we have honors convocation, and then tomorrow we have 2 commencement ceremonies. These will be my first opportunity to go through commencement here at Western. Can't tell you how much I'm looking forward to it, and getting to see the graduates walk across the stage and collect their diplomas. Always find commencement to be a tremendously uplifting experience because, quite frankly, that's what we do as a university. And I want to congratulate all the students and all the graduates on their accomplishment. I also want to talk a little bit about some of the things that we're doing to make sure that Western remains a stable and secure university going forwards. You're going to hear about some of these things later when we get to the business that we have on the agenda for today, but I want to highlight a couple of the items first and foremost. And I want to talk first because this is probably the most critical component of what we do, and first talk a little bit about the hard work that our admissions folks have been doing to make sure that we have students and a continued number of high-quality students here at the university. I tell you, one of the things I pay attention to very carefully is the enrollment data that comes in. And we get enrollment numbers every Friday morning. First thing I look at when I wake up on Friday mornings is a set of 6 emails that give me where we are on the enrollment path, both for spring and for fall. And I take a look at those numbers, and then Doug Freed over in the admissions office kind of compiles them into a comparison a little better, that easier to understand, that I can look at in the enrollment funnel. And I can tell you the numbers, they don't look bad, they don't look great, but it looks like we're kind of holding our own. You're going to hear more about this later on. If you look at the applications and admissions numbers, and you look down the funnel, they're fairly comparable with where they were last year. Looks like we're looking at slight increases in transfers and graduate students. And assuming that all of this holds through registration, remember, that's still 9 months away. Assuming all of this holds, we're on target to achieve our goal of an increase in the size of our incoming class. This would be the first time we've done that in about 5 years, if we accomplish that goal. It's a huge accomplishment for us as a university. Our admissions folks have done a tremendous job getting out on the road, visiting students, prospective students where they are, high school students, transfer students, and processing of graduate students. Faculty and staff have been engaged in doing this as well. We've had a tremendous boost by action that the Faculty Senate took back in October when they approved a change in our admissions criteria and recognized that the high school GPA is the most significant indicator of the success or the likely success of our incoming students. I asked Doug the other day, how many students, how many prospective students have we received because of that change in our admissions criteria? He gave me a number. He said, and I don't remember the exact details, so I'm going to give you approximate numbers. He said about 65 students have been admitted who have not given us test scores. Admitted because they have a high school GPA greater than the 3.3, and we have a good indicator based on that they will succeed. There are about another 135 that have been admitted who have a high school GPA greater than 3.3, but because of other criteria or other characteristics would not have been admitted last year. So that's roughly 200 admits this year to date that we would not have had last year at this time. Now, based on history, our yield is roughly 22% of the admitted students will actually enroll. That's 44 new students that we are likely to see in this fall that we would have had no chance at last year. To put that in perspective, we were down last year on new freshmen by about 35 students. Had we done this a year ago, the number of new freshmen would have gone up last year. Doing that this year, we're very much expecting number of new freshmen, as well as transfers and graduate students, will be up this year relative to last year. Again, this is the first time in 5 years or more that we can say the size of the incoming class will be higher, greater than the size of last year's incoming class. You're also going to hear later about issues of diversity and inclusion. I know the board asked for an update. Where are we on the issues of diversity and inclusion? And I appreciate Andrea for bringing this up, because she's absolutely right. When I looked around the room at my first President's Leadership Team meeting, there was one person of color in the room. That's the administration I inherited from the previous administration. It's not anything I did anything about. That's what I inherited. Keep that in mind as well. We are working to address those challenges. I have a team, about a half a dozen people, faculty and staff, who are putting programs together for this spring to help us address issues of diversity and inclusion. Coming up on January 9th and 10th, we're going to have a series of workshops. January 9th up in the Quad Cities. January 10th will be down here, 2 sessions down here. The purpose of the sessions? To help faculty and staff understand how they can work better with the diverse populations that we have at Western. The goal is to help our underrepresented students to feel more welcome here in our communities, both in Macomb and in Quad Cities. We've got additional programs that we've got announced already, and I'm excited about some of the things that the faculty and the staff will have an opportunity to engage in. We're also doing things to improve the morale and the infrastructure, the social behavior, the social activities that occur here at the university. I wasn't with the board last night, in part because I was over at the university residence. We had about 150 faculty and administrative professionals out at the residence last night with my wife and I, just enjoying an opportunity to interact with each other. It was a great event. It's very nice to get to talk to people in a social setting. Just chat about whatever is interesting and whatever they want to do. Nancy and I are looking forward to hosting 2 more of these events. On Sunday, we've invited the members of the community to come out to the residence, to participate with us, to build a relationship, and to become more involved. And on Monday evening, members of the civil service will be coming out and joining us. I'm excited and I'm pleased. So many of the folks have taken up the opportunity to get together and start to rebuild the social fabric of this university and this community. I want to finish off by thanking so many of the people who've come out and supported us and supported the work that we've been doing over the last semester. This is not about me. This is about the team that we're starting to build here at Western, the people who are doing the hard work, from the vice presidents, and as Bill Polly points out, vice presidents to the janitors and the groundskeepers. Every single one of them is important, and every single one of them is working harder today than they were working a few years ago, because we are down in staff, but we got the same amount of buildings, we got the same amount of grass, we're going to have the same amount of snow, we're hoping for a little less snow. We have the same challenges that we've had when we had 400 more people. I can tell you during the past 6 months, I've seen people dig a little deeper, work a little harder, and I've seen the huge difference that it's made. As I go out and I talk to people in the community, and I talk to our alumni, and I talk to the students, I hear about where we are, and I hear about how much things have started to change at the university. It's not me, it's the people that are here that are working and looking to make this a better place. They're excited about what they see going forwards. They're doing the work. They're making a difference. I've been very pleased to be able to serve as the interim president for the past 6 months. I'm very proud of what we've been able to accomplish in this short period of time. I would be extremely thrilled to be able to continue to do that as your president. If you choose to continue to me as interim president, I'll be happy to serve in that role for as long as you'd like me to do that. But I also know that there are things that I can do, that we can do as a university, if you choose to appoint me as president, that we will not be able to do if you do not make that hard choice. And I encourage you to listen to the people that have worked so hard and given us a spirit of hope and make the right choice. Thank you.
I move to close session to discuss personnel.
Second.
Do we need a vote?
Trustee Toomey?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Stutz?
Yes.
Trustee Radosh?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Dolschlager?
Yes.
Trustee Aguilar? Yes. Trustee Brown?
Yes.